Hello guys, welcome to another edition of Ray Sports News and Debates. Okay, in today's video, we're going to throw a little college football at you. I'm going to tell you who I think is going to get into the playoffs, who I think is unfortunately going to miss out on the playoffs. Yes, there are a couple of championship games going right now as well as later, but let's just start talking about the playoffs. So obviously this is the last year. It's going to be 4 teams. I think Michigan has it. A Michigan win against Iowa, they're locked in for sure. A loss, I think them and Ohio State are both out. But I'm just saying, theoretically speaking, okay, Georgia's going to beat Alabama. I think Georgia will get in, be your number 1 seed. I think Michigan will win. They will be your number 2 seed. Washington won last night against Oregon, knocking Oregon essentially out of any playoff conversations. I think Washington will be your 3, okay? And I think you have, in retrospect, you have about a 3-team race for the 4 spot with Ohio State, Texas, and Florida State. I think Ohio State, without the Big Ten championship appearance in general, they're out. Oregon's going to fall. Alabama will fall out of the conversation. And I think really it's between Texas and Florida State. Now, when I look at both teams' resume, okay, I look at Texas and I look at Florida State's, okay? Now, I am a Texas fan, so this is going to sound a little biased, okay? But I think, I think Texas will get in. Unless I see Florida State blow the brakes off of Louisville tonight, I think Texas had the harder schedule. They have 4 ranked wins. If Florida State wins tonight, that'll be 3 ranked wins for Florida State. Out of the 4 ranked wins, you have 1 with the backup quarterback, and we beat Kansas State. You have 2 other ranked wins that we won by 20-plus points. And then you have a 10-point win over Nick Saban's team, who's appearing in the SEC championship game against Georgia right now. Okay, at the very worst, Alabama will be 10-2 this year, so it's a credible loss. It's a more credible win because I look at the bigger win. I think who had the bigger win between Texas and Florida State, okay? Because if Florida State wins, they'll have the ACC championship. Texas will have the Big 12 championship. So those will essentially cancel each other out, okay? The rank wins. It's 4-3, Texas having the edge, okay? But I think the key factor that's going to determine what the committee wants is the 4 best teams to get in, okay? I think the main difference between Texas and Alabama will be who had the bigger ranked win. And I think you look at it, and I think you got to give it to Texas. They're going to be one of essentially 2 teams to beat Nick Saban this year. They did it by double digits, and not to knock on Florida State. They beat LSU week 1. I'll give them credit. It was by 3 scores. So, but I look at, okay, Alabama's 10-2. LSU is 8-3 or 8-4. I can't remember, but I know they've lost more than twice. Okay. Alabama right now is ranked 8th. LSU is ranked 15th. Okay. LSU did not appear in the SEC championship game. Alabama did. Okay, so when you're looking because that's Florida State's biggest win is LSU. But LSU lost 3 times this year. They didn't make their championship game this year. So between Alabama and LSU, I think Alabama will be the more credible win. I think the committee will look at that. And I think essentially that will be the determining factor because, at least, Texas's win over Alabama, who, like I said, made it to the SEC championship game against Georgia, looks a lot more credible now because they're big. That's Texas's big win is against Alabama. And Florida State's, big win is against LSU. So one of them was competing for their conference championship. The other wasn't. But I think my final prediction, I think Georgia will be your 1. I think Michigan will be your 2. I think Washington is going to be your 3. Although I could see them maybe going Michigan 1, Georgia 2. Depending on how Michigan does against Iowa, and depending on how big, Georgia beats Alabama. But, yeah, Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Washington 3, and I think Texas will finish out the playoffs being that number 4 spot, probably drawing Georgia first week of the playoffs. But it's the playoffs. It's the 4 best teams, and I think the 4 best teams are Texas, Georgia, Michigan, and Washington. But with that being said, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Comment which 4 teams you think are going to get into the playoffs. Did we get it right? Did we not get it right? Like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Until next time, you guys have a good one.